Well, hello everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to our ModGolf Live on YouTube. Hey, this is the second one we've done. Getting excited about this. Starting to getting some audience traction here. We're getting some excitement, and we're getting some fabulous guests on too. And today will be no exception to that, because my guest will be my good friend of the show, known for years, who's been a guest host on the show, multiple guests on the podcast, and that is Dr. Greta Anderson, LPGA Class A professional, entrepreneur, doing so much more. We're going to get a catch up with Greta to see what's new in her life and all the great things she's doing to make golf more welcoming, accessible, and inviting for everyone. So before we get into that, did want to talk about a few things in golf, not necessarily what's gone on in the LPGA and PGA tours, although the Canadian Open just finished, and being Canadian, I didn't have the chance to be there as a golf journalist this year. Was too busy with other things, but that was exciting. A Canadian didn't win this year, but that's okay, maybe next year. And then on the LPGA, also with the U.S. Women's Open, that was very exciting too, down to the wire there with, I believe, the first Japanese champion in many years taking that one. But the few things I did want to talk about are what's going on within the golf industry and with our communities here. And the one thing of the two things I wanted to talk about today here, the first one is Women's Golf Day, which is actually Women's Golf Week now. And our good friend Elisa Gaudet founded this about 7 years ago now, and had her on the podcast. Gosh, I think she was guest number 5, maybe ever, that we had on the podcast back in the early days when I really didn't know what I was doing in the podcast space. But she was kind enough to join me for Women's Golf Day back then. So all over the world, not just North America, it's amazing what they are doing here and how they've expanded in what they're doing. So I would recommend, whether you're a female golfer or like myself, actually, to support and participate with Women's Golf Days events. And even though they're halfway through now, they are still having some more events for the next couple of days. So I strongly recommend that you check out womensgolfday.com, see all the good things that they're doing there, and perhaps at a local course for you, you can go and participate. And usually the format that these courses have, and they're able to kind of curate and craft their own events, is 9 holes of golf, or you've never played before, have a lesson, learn how to putt and learn how to chip. So it's friendly and open and accessible for everyone. And then afterwards, there's the social aspect, whether it's a fashion show, some dinner and some wine, or a combination thereof, and the social aspect too. So yes, if you haven't participated in a Women's Golf Day event over the next couple of days, I strongly urge you to do so. Not only to support Alyssa and all the great things that she's doing, but this is a global movement now, I think in the 7th or 8th year, and they're doing some great, impactful things. So yeah, Women's Golf Day at womensgolfday.com. Have a look. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to mention today too is something I had mentioned last week and had covered in a few posts that I put out there, especially on LinkedIn, and that was after the sad and unfortunate death of Grayson Murray, PGA pro, who sadly took his own life. And I had put out there, just for everyone to kind of talk about even my struggles with depression and anxiety, and the resources that are out there for you, especially for men. Men, we have this terrible habit of kind of pressing everything down and keeping it to ourselves. And just wanted to let everybody know there's resources out there and people to help, whether it's a friend that you know that's struggling, or even with yourselves and you're kind of looking for some help. And one organization, and there's organizations all over North America, but one I would recommend strongly for men is called Heads Up Guys. Even though they're based here in Vancouver at the University of British Columbia, where I live close to, they really are accessible for everyone. So as far as men, as far as resources, support, and community, to let you know that you're not alone. We're all connected, and there are people that want to help. And I strongly recommend with headsupguys.org to have a look at what they're doing, because we're here to remove that shame, that stigma, and the silence around mental health, not just for men, but for young people, for everyone. And I know with Greta, as she can attest to, as an entrepreneur like myself, entrepreneurship on the outside seems glamorous and sexy all the time, but it can be lonely and isolating also, and it's hard. So to get that support that you need. So again, with for men with headsupguys.org, or other organization that I'm involved with too for youth mental health, which is called jack.org, and we've been involved quite heavily with them too, where the young people are the advocates and the spokespeople and ambassadors for mental health awareness. So yeah, there are resources out there, and yeah, if we can just have one more conversation, so that the tragedy like happened with Grayson and so many others around the world, if one person has more support and knows that that their life has meaning and we're connected, then it's all worth it. Okay. So on that note, I want to now bring in my good friend and guest today, and there she is, Greta Anderson. Dr.
There.
Greta, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. Good to see you, my friend. It's
I
gosh,
know.
way too long
I
since.
know. It's been forever.
It's not right. It's
Seems
not.
like.
So if there's any reason, well, there's lots of reasons to create ModGolf live here. And one of them that I love is it's another platform to connect with all of my good friends and people in the golf industry that provide so much value and do so many great things. Because on the podcast, I do about 24 of them a year, 2 seasons. So with that, there's only so much time and so much space, so much capacity. So this is yet another avenue, another venue to have fabulous people like yourself on. So hey, as an overview, why don't you first let people watching today here that are not familiar with you and also what you've done on the ModGolf podcast in the past, both as a guest and as a host. Okay. Why don't you let people know a little bit about your background and what you're doing in the golf industry?
Sure. So my name is Greta Anderson. People call me Dr. Greta because I am a doctor, I suppose. But yeah, so Greta, Dr. Greta, however you choose, just call me. But I'm so excited to be here. Colin and I have been good friends now. I've guest hosted a few times. I don't remember how many, but I absolutely love it. It's just an amazing platform. The diversity of guests and topics within the realm of golf that you cover, I just love it. And as for me, how I spend my days, helping people love and embrace the game of golf even more, no matter how they intend to use it in their lives. So however we want to use golf as a tool, it's the right tool, right? It's something for everyone, and it doesn't have to be the same thing. And that's one of the things that I'm very passionate about, because we know, in the not so distant, in recent past, golf was, it was supposed to be kind of one way. And so we're just growing the game and just opening it up to let everyone love it. So I have an instructional practice called Dr. Greta Golf. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been here for quite a while. So that's what I do. And then in addition to that, as a golf professional, I also do a lot of work in serve as what's called a global educator for the United States. For the United States. I've been watching too much US Open during that USGA for the Ladies Professional Golf Association, also known as the LPGA. I'm sitting here doing this because my phone keeps ringing, even though I have it on Do Not Disturb. That's real stuff here. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, so that's how I spend most of my time between those things and doing some other things that we'll kind of talk about. They're just finding ways to help more and more people enjoy the game and making it easier for people to enjoy the game. So that's really where my passion lies and where I spend my days.
Yeah, and you certainly have made golf part of people's lives there, and connected out of. I believe you're in Atlanta, Greater Atlanta, are you?
Yep, still right in Atlanta. Yep,
been there for a while. Grew up in Michigan, I believe.
Home is Michigan, absolutely.
There you go.
So this is a total sidebar. Total sidebar. I'm a little sleepy and hoarse because I've been up watching hockey, my favorite sports. And I know as a Canadian, you got to be watching some hockey, right?
Well, now that we've got with the Oilers, even though they beat our Canucks here, I know it's
Yeah,
just still a
yeah,
bit sad,
yeah.
but the fact we've got a Canadian team
I
in the
know,
final for
I
a
know,
while,
I know.
first time in 30 years or so, so that's really good. I thought your voice was going to be hoarse. I thought you were up early watching the French Open because I know you got
I
that
am.
that
I
tennis
this
you as a professional tennis player too.
this is sports paradise. This is the time of year where I there are just not enough hours in the day because you're absolutely correct. I was up at 5 a.m. watching tennis. I was up until whatever time, and then the hockey finished at about what 11:30 my time. Then of course I had to watch some post game stuff, and of course I still watch the Canadian version. I got to watch Hockey Night in America. Growing up right there at the border,
Yeah,
I watched hockey. I watched Canadian hockey. I watched the Canadian broadcast. So I'm still I'm an honorary Canadian when it comes to hockey, I think, unless the Red Wings are involved. Other
there,
than that, I'm a Canadian girl when it comes to hockey. So I'm
fair
very
enough.
excited about the Oilers being in. A little nervous. We won't go down the hockey rabbit hole. Not enough shots last night, but we made it through.
There we
So
go.
so
You,
that's
you are
what's happening.
definitely an honorary Canadian. Then yes, you're welcome here anytime. Absolutely, absolutely, no
Woo! So
problem.
yeah.
I will give you a. I don't have much political clout, but I'll give you a passport and a visa.
I'll
There you
show up
go.
with a passport and a friendly flag. Right?
There we
Yay.
go.
There we go. There we go. So yes, between all of the sports, and I'm just a sports girl, right? So we've got the NBA finals starting. I think they begin Thursday. I don't know what I'm going to do here except be sleepy for the next couple weeks.
There we
I don't
go.
I don't know.
Well, between your sports binging,
Mhm.
on all the great things that are going on this time of year,
Yes.
you obviously have a little bit of time to get on the lesson tee.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about not only what you do in person on the
Mhm.
lesson tee
Yeah.
with your students, but
Yes.
also the programming. I know you've worked
Yeah.
over the last couple of years as an entrepreneur, and you've
Yeah.
kind of shifted and pivoted and tried to
Yeah.
refine the model and
Yeah.
see what works and what doesn't. And it's been
Yes.
very intriguing. I know you and I are kind of sharing a similar journey with
Yes.
slightly different ingredients
Mhm.
sprinkled on the recipe of what we're doing with our ventures.
Yes.
But let us know right now what you are doing, not only on the lesson tee in person, but how you're looking and have expanded
Mhm.
to make it more digital with a platform there so you can access and reach out to more people
Sure.
in, as we say, in kind of the tech sector. How do you scale? What have you been doing
Exactly.
there that's connecting
Exactly.
with
Right.
people?
Right. So step one, what I've done is that because I always be as an instructor, as a professional, my goal and intention is always to do what I can to serve my clients most effectively with where we are in the world today. So um, I made the decision when an amazing opportunity was presented to me. I actually moved. I moved my practice to a new facility, and it's one of the best in the southeast. And I don't say that just because I'm there. This place is amazing. It's called the Golf House Academy. I think we're just under 10,000 square feet of absolutely breathtakingly beautiful indoor golf space. We're an indoor studio, which is kind of nice because while we love the weather, it's also the weather. And with all that we have going on in the world, I mean, global warming is real and it does affect things, the extremes of the climate, that type of thing. So even though we're here in the Southeast, we have tons of beautiful days. It is a great way to give more flexibility to my clients, a bit more certainty, and technology. So we have all of the latest and greatest. And as a teacher and a teacher of teachers, the first thing I say is that you don't need technology to provide a great lesson, but it can really serve as an enhancement, right? Because
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
in an age where people understand that technology exists. So right when I can show you, when we can quantify improvement, when we can identify clearly what we can improve very efficiently, right there and on the lesson tee, it really matters and it makes the lesson more impactful and efficient. So it allows me to serve better. So I'm really excited about that. I've been there about about 2 months now, and it's just great. I just love it. Love the ownership team. It's just fantastic. So my students are loving it. I'm picking up new students. They're finding me. So it's just great. So that's what I'm doing at a local perspective. But as you mentioned, both you and I have kind of been on this journey about scalability, wanting to serve people in beyond our local uh, spots. So for me, beyond Metro Atlanta here,
Hmm.
and so as you know, I am a tinkerer. I will try technology. I'm not afraid to, if you will, fail, because that's the only way we move forward. And in doing so, the world just opens up to you. And so I guess it's been about a year now. I guess time flies. I'm not quite sure, but I jumped on and became partners with Skillist, which is an amazing platform which did all the heavy lifting in terms of technology for me. But they're great, more importantly, great partners, um,
Yes.
that allows me to um, teach people all over the world with a great platform. Um, and it allows that two-way street, which is important in teaching. For heretofore, a lot of remote coaching was just kind of, hey, send a video, mark it up and send it back, and that's really not instruction, right? That might be swing analysis, but that's not instruction. And most people who are looking for help need more than a lesson, right?
Right, right.
I'm not big on just kind of one and done lesson, really, even in a local standpoint, because we know that it's generally doesn't work that way, right? It's not as linear as we all hope it to be when we're learning anything, let alone golf. So with Skillers, I'm able to provide a lot of program. I mean, I will do one-off, some one-off service, but really most of the people that have come to me and find me there or end up there, they're looking for a more programmatic approach, which is right in my wheelhouse, what I love to do. And so I've been keeping busy with all of those things.
Nice, nice. And we've had many conversations about entrepreneurship and
Yeah.
how do you launch products and services and ventures.
Hmm.
And one great thing I need to circle back on that you had mentioned there is that you are partnering. You're not trying to build it yourself from starting from scratch.
No,
Then I got to build this app and do all this myself and all the technology. Partner with people, find those right partners, and that does take time sometimes.
it
But
takes time.
really being intentional about that, and I know you've worked very hard to find the right partners, and
Yes.
sometimes it's a bit of give and take and trial and error and hit and
Yeah.
miss, and you
Yeah.
sometimes you don't find the right ones at the beginning. But it's kind of like dating, I guess you can say that.
That's right. That's right.
Right,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
finding that out, and then that
Right.
really allows you to scale.
Right. Exactly. As I said, I'm not afraid to fail, if you will. Like the only way, you have to do complete due diligence, right? And then sometimes you even with all of that, you're going to try some things and it may be right, but just not right. Like I identified a really great path, but it was just a little bit too cumbersome for my target audience. And
Yes.
so you got to know who you're serving, right? And so with that, you pivot and you might pivot some more and you might pivot this way and then you'll eventually get to it. But it's being patient and being very committed to whom you're trying to serve and what you want to do.
Love that. Love that. Hey, just notice we've got a few people joining us here. That's one thing as an entrepreneur I've done also, not waiting and waiting until we get some number that you just kind of make up in your head that you
Yeah.
think makes success of having 50 or 100 or 200 people. We've got 3 people joining us here for this
Hey.
conversation. Of course, we'll have this on YouTube afterwards for everybody to watch, which we've actually get good traction on that. But we do have some people that are live today.
Oh,
And as I've said, one of the incentives I have for people to come on live here is that we're going to be giving things away every single show that we
all
have.
right.
And actually, I've got this company that reached out to me called Chip Golf. So with Chip, they sent me a couple of gloves here. I kind of love these. You got one that's called the Texas Hold'em, if you can kind of
All
see
right.
that.
I like it.
And the other one's the Hot Hand. I'll take these out in a
Okay.
minute here. So we're going to be giving these away later on, but we're going to do it at the end of the show. And just want to show it. And we want that interactivity too. I wanted to show we got Hyro on here. It's like, hey, thanks, Hyro. Great podcast. See, we got some interactivity. And that's one of the great things about this show format that we have, unlike
Mhm.
the podcast or creating content on YouTube, which is great. But there isn't that level of engagement
Sure.
that with this live show, hey, if you have any questions for Greta, if you're curious about anything at all or any comments, put it out there and we'll talk about things and we'll go back and forth with you and may even have the opportunity to if you're bold enough and comfortable enough, we can
Uh-huh.
actually pull you on screen here too, as people from the audience here. So Jairo, thanks for the comment there. Appreciate that. But yeah, we're looking to do more mod golf giveaways. So there's one thing that I've
Mhm.
learned over time: people love to win free stuff.
Who
Whether it's a
doesn't like
couple
free
of,
stuff?
I know, right? It's pretty common. It's a universal truth. People love free
Right.
stuff. So hey, okay, Greta, I want to get back to you here now.
Sure.
One thing you had mentioned when we were back and forth and saying,
Mhm.
well, what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah.
I know one thing that's top of mind for you and all your work is informing this and helping to manifest this, and that is making golf accessible and welcoming to people that have never picked up a club before, not just people
Sure.
like myself that have played mediocre golf for way too long, or people
Sure.
that are at that elite level,
Sure.
which I know you also appeal to.
Yes.
But tell me what you're doing and that passion you have for getting a club in someone's hand for the first time and then
Mhm.
making sure they have it in their hand for a second time.
It's funny you mention that because one of the big draws to my transition and kind of leveling up and moving my instructional practice up the road a bit was to move to a facility where one of the top commitments is to just what you mentioned, putting a club in newcomers' hands. People never picked up a club, and so as a seasoned instructor, a business owner for years now, the number one impediment to getting people involved, getting the trial, if you will, to golf is the club. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. It's you have to go through quite a process to have clubs to come and take a lesson and that type of thing. And some people are willing to maybe, search around and find some clubs to bring. Chances are they may not work for them. They may be a little bit too old, a little bit too long, a little bit too heavy, those types of things. But many people, if you don't know people to play golf, then how are you going to have clubs? So now we've
Right.
got a problem, right? Well, I want to try, but I don't have clubs. So the big thing that I did was move to a facility where we have miles and miles and miles. I honestly think there may be 35 or 40 sets of brand new, beautiful clubs that are just there for people who want to take instruction who don't have equipment. So when you come see me, you don't have to have equipment.
That is one of the major barriers that you are knocking down here. That's
Yep.
really great.
Yep. Yep.
It's really great. So expand on that. What are the other great things that you're doing once actually you've got that club in the hand of someone that doesn't have clubs?
Mhm.
What are you doing? What's your approach? How can I put this? How would you approach the messaging and even the first couple of things you do with those students to make them feel comfortable and engaged as compared to someone like me that's played a while and has different needs and has a more of a kind of a foundational understanding of the golf swing and my experience?
Mhm. Sure. I mean, the first thing, it might sound simple, but I find that it is a big deal. I literally welcome people to golf. One of the first things I will say, but beyond introducing myself and shaking a hand or saying hello, is that I welcome them and welcome to golf. We are so glad to have you there. I'm so glad you're here. And we're going to get you going and you're going to have a great time. And before you leave this lesson tee today, the golf ball is going to fly in the air. That's a guarantee. Simple.
Nice, nice. What I really like about that, it just I can feel your sense of gratitude and authenticity of being genuinely happy and appreciative that those people are there. Because
Absolutely.
I you've been in the golf industry at the front line. Well, that's a lot longer than I have, and the type of work that you do in the trenches. I'm sure I know you've seen a lot of unfortunate situations where that old school country club mentality that it's almost like those people are privileged to actually have the honor of even being on the property and to even
Exactly.
have the opportunity to speak with a professional, which is nonsense. But that still
Exactly.
kind of
Exactly.
permeates through a lot of the
Exactly.
culture there, and that's not only intimidation, but it's off-putting. So it sounds like
Well
you
said.
really go out of your way, just like in
Exactly.
in a way, it's kind of a hospitality
Well, it
experience
is. It's
mindset.
exactly
Right?
that. It's
Yeah.
exactly that. As we may have discussed we've had so many conversations, but I have an extensive background in hospitality, right? I'm a researcher by training, that's where hence the doctor part. But I spent a lot of years working in the hospitality industry. And so when I came into golf, I brought a lot of that in. I mean, you have to treat people well. I mean, it's a choice. One of the things that people who work with me for years, I know I say this probably 10 times a day. No one's going to die because they didn't take a golf lesson. This is about treating people well. You should always treat people well, but they're making a choice with their time, with their financial resources and all of the above. So we're creating an experience. So that experience needs to be awesome, whether this is their first time touching a golf club or whether they walk in and they're too handicapped, right? It doesn't matter to me. My intention is to create a great experience where for this, set period of time, whether it's 45 minutes, an hour, whatever the case may be, the world doesn't exist,
Yeah.
right? All of those types of things, which is why for years I've always liked to take care of all of the business of the business of golf, of golf instruction before you come to the lesson tee. That way, our time together is just about fun and learning in golf.
I love this. I love this. And for new golfers, are you usually or typically having them in a group environment rather than a one-on-one? Because again, especially I found with women, we talked about Women's Golf Day earlier, and I with Alyssa and getting a lot of feedback over the years of I'm learning myself of as women are very different than men as far as how they want to engage. And usually they want that power of invitation and be around friends or at least like-minded people or people that, look like them, talk like them, dress like them. So, and have the same experiences for the most part. So are you finding first-time golfers are more comfortable in a group setting where they can socialize a bit, or are you finding that one-on-one works? I'm just curious to get your feedback on that.
I find it can go two ways. So a lot of ladies, I find that sometimes even if they're not keenly aware of this, the cohort approach really works. Hey, we have, let's just say, I'm a small batch girl. I do not believe in large classes. I really like classes between 6, 8 maximum because I really want to be hands-on with everyone, right? So let's just say that. So let's just say we have 6 or 7 ladies or whatever the number is together, and they're all brand new. Well, by the end of that session, they've found their original foursomes and groups, right? They found their golf crew. They kind of know it, but they don't know it yet because time and time again, I don't know how many hundreds of classes I've put on. By that 3rd or 4th week, they're practicing together. I always create, a group thread so I can, continue throughout the week giving feedback and support and being the cheerleader and that type of thing. They're going out practicing together. So what we're doing is we're helping them develop the habits that golfers have. They just may not fully know it yet. So by the time we kind of graduate, they're off practice. It's like they don't need me. So nothing warms my heart more than if I'm out on the course and I go like, I see them and they're like too busy, they're like, hi, Dr. Greta, but they're busy doing their own thing. They've like, the training wheels are off. So I find that is very much the case. But then I find that there's another type of woman when I teach a lot of kind of the hard driving, achieving woman. She likes a group and she's a very social woman. But when it comes to skills development, she has a high bar. And while she may even take one-on-ones as a supplement to the group. But she's very intent on getting from A to B, if you will. And so she knows that some more intensive and more focused time just on her is going to move the needle with her skill set a little bit more.
Got it.
So I kind of get both of them, and I encourage a little bit mixture of both because if it's one thing, if you already have a network and a social set of golfers that you can kind of integrate into. But if you don't have that, we know that I know there are many ladies, right, who have golf skills and have equipment and all those types of things, but because they don't have a network, their golf skills and their equipment just kind of sit on the sideline, and we certainly don't want that. So we know that those two things matter. I'll get a little bit nerdy here and go all the way back to, wow, it's been about 30 years. It's not almost 30 years, 30 years when in my dissertation research that I conducted, it was really about this conceptual model of how people successfully integrate and persist is the word we use in academia, right? Finishing up. But over the years, I've had an opportunity to really see that model in action in golf, because there are two things that have to happen to make someone, generally speaking, successful and to stay active in the golf community, which means out playing and enjoying the game. One, we have to kind of become academically integrated in the world of golf. That would mean we kind of have to know how to play. We had to know how to traverse the golf course, know the rules of the game, know how to make the ball move, that type of thing. That's the one. But then there's also has to be social integration, right? You have to have a network, a community of friends in which to enjoy the game. Because if you don't, most people, particularly women, are not just going to go out there and week after week just play solo. Maybe a few more gentlemen, but generally speaking, ladies don't really operate like that. So if you don't have those two things, no, you really did not. Those individuals tend not to become golfers for the long haul, which is what we want.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, I got one more question to finish up here. But before I ask that, I just want to mention to everyone that's watching, I think there's a few people out there. Here, I even put the glove on here. So here it is. So this is their hot hand one.
Hot
here.
hand.
So
Okay.
as you can see, it's kind of
I
cool.
like
And
it.
yeah, the leather, I really love this. I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to gloves. I don't like poorly fitting gloves. I'm an extra large. That's a good looking glove here.
If you have to, if you have to think about the glove and fiddle with it, it's kind of gonna not so.
It is. So hey, if anybody wants to win a couple of these chipped gloves here, I've already said in the comments, you got to let us know. You got to speak up. Otherwise, we're gonna wait till next week to give these away. So here's your chance. So if people are being shy here today, they're going to miss out. We want to give things away. You know,
they've got to be here right now to win, right?
That's right. That's right. Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that. The last thing I want to ask you here, Greta, is kind of expand upon all the good things you've talked about already. And you're a good storyteller. So why don't you tell us one story, one success story, one that really warms your heart, of someone that perhaps was improbable. You thought when you first saw them, this person will never take up golf. This will probably be a one and done. And perhaps that little bird has left the nest and is flying on their own with their golf journey now. So do you have a story you can pull up quickly with that warms your heart there, of someone that succeeded that you thought for sure they would not have taken up the game?
Well, I can think of actually, she's a little lady in my girls golf program.
Okay.
And the beautiful thing about all of us, whether we're big or a little bit older or a little bit younger, is that we all are different and diverse. And when she came in, I was just thinking, okay, well, it's not always for everyone, but that's the beautiful thing about exploration, programs for the kids. And she just wasn't looking that engaged. And then we were working on the technique and that type of thing, so that we can make the ball fly, because everybody wants to see the ball fly. And it just wasn't going so well. And so I remember watching her, literally, the beauty of kids. She's doing like this. And so I asked, I said, what are you thinking about? She's like, how to make the ball fly. I'm like, okay. Hey, everyone's brain works a little bit differently, but she's trying to figure this out. And a few more swings. And this was like the most beautiful little 9-iron shot I'd seen in a long time. It was crisp. It was clean. I could hear it. And I my neck would have broken, her head snapped so quickly if that had been me. She's like, I got it. And she's just staring at me. And I'm like, you got it. The most avid golfer now. She's busy. She's doing all the things, taking one-on-one instruction with me twice a week. It's just awesome. Getting ready for drive, chip, and putt championships, all the things. It's just like, so what it reminds me is that everyone's aha moment comes when it's supposed to come.
Love that.
And my job is to just support and facilitate that discovery.
So good. So good. So, hey, to finish up there, I put it up there. I think we got the URL right there, drgretagolf.com. Is that it?
Love it.
Here we go. The other thing we'll do here, I love this platform, by the way. They're not paying me, I pay them. This is
Yeah,
called
give it-
StreamYard. I'm using it to put this show together. I don't have a production team or executive producer. I'm working right now in real
yeah,
time,
they're the
kind of
best.
making this thing happen.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, it's pretty darn good as far as what you're able to do here
Yes.
and put things together here in real time here. And
Yeah, I've used them for
golfers.
years. They're fantastic. They're fantastic. It's I've tried several. Again, I'm a tinkerer, but I've come back to them. Yeah, they're A1. And they
There you
don't pay
go.
me either. Just
There we
that.
go.
Yeah.
So, hey, anybody you're looking to put a show together, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. So StreamYard, once again, they're not paying me. Wish they would, but they're not. But I love it. Here, I even kind of pull up real quick there. There you go.
There you go.
Here's
There I
a
am. Look at
screenshot
that.
of Greta's a website there too with Dr. Greta Golf. So yeah, great things going on there. I highly encourage all of you to have a look at the good things that Greta is doing and connect with her also on LinkedIn. We'll keep down of course, with this afterwards, you will be able to watch this. If you're not seeing it live, we will be promoting this afterwards. So in the comments below on YouTube, I will put the link to not only Dr. Greta Golf, but also to LinkedIn. Is probably the easiest way to get a hold of you too. So, because I know you're very active there.
Yep.
So, my good friend, Dr. Greta Golf, good to see you again.
You
It's
too,
awesome.
Colin. Thank you so much for having me.
It is my pleasure. And yes, we won't wait so long to make this happen again. And we'll definitely make sure that we'll have you on as a guest host again with another fabulous guest, because I know that those have been lots of fun too.
Yes, for sure.
Good stuff. All right, Greta, you take care. Don't lose too much sleep over all the tennis and the hockey that you're watching here.
Yeah.
Try to get some sleep, and so you got lots of energy for that lesson tee.
Always got to have the energy. The energy always finds its way to me on the lesson tee, but can't not watch the sports.
Good stuff. There you go. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for our ModGolf live show. We'll see you again next week. Greta, great to see you. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bye now.
Bye-bye.